Well, here to discuss the energy crisis in America, Daniel Turner, Executive Director of Power the Future. Daniel, pressure obviously mounting on the president to make America more energy independent. Many Republicans want Biden to reopen the Keystone XL pipeline. Jen Psaki has a different take on this. Listen to this.
I would also note that on oil leases, what this actually justifies in President Biden's view is the fact that we need to reduce our dependence on foreign oil, on oil in general, and we need to look at other ways of having energy in our country and others. One of the interesting things, George, we've seen over the last week or so is that a number of European countries are recognizing they need to reduce their own reliance on Russian oil.
Daniel, your reaction to the press secretary's strategy for oil independence?
Yeah, it shows a real ignorance of this administration on how our energy sector works. The problem with Jen Psaki's talking points is that all renewables are made from fossil fuels. Wind turbines, solar panels, electric vehicles are made with fossil fuels. Probably the biggest lie the environmental left has told the nation outside of the climate hysteria. The biggest lie is that somehow these renewables will replace oil and gas and coal, and they won't. We will just use them in a different way, but we're not going to use any less of them. Proof of that is the fact that as the price of bread and meat and everything else has gone up, the price of solar panels has gone up 50%. Why? Because they're made from fossil fuels. So making energy inexpensive makes all things inexpensive, and that's good for the country.
So, Daniel, let's say we got the shocking development that this president said, you know what? We need to drill for more oil at home. We need to build more pipelines. We need to produce more and sell more natural gas. If he made that complete U-turn, how long would it take before the U.S. could get up to a capacity level where it could really start to crowd out some of what Russia's providing to Europe, for example?
Well, I mean, people were surprised we got vaccines within a couple of months under President Trump. So I guess if there was a real Marshall Plan, so to speak, anything is possible, and it could be done maybe within a year or 2 years. But realistically, it will take several years. I mean, these are long-term infrastructure projects. Something like Keystone was 10 years in the making. And you know capital markets. You know how hard it is to raise the revenue to build these projects. And then when you finally bring them to the government for permission, and someone like Deb Haaland, the Interior Secretary, holds them up, as she is holding up right now 6 LNG, liquid natural gas terminals, well, then they're never going to be brought to market. And that's the biggest problem. Yep. It's not just the money. It's not just the investment and the time. But you need a government who will cooperate with you. And this administration has made punishing fossil fuel its priority since the day one.
That is such a good point, Daniel, because the money is there. The investors are there. There are projects that can produce a return and can produce oil and produce natural gas. But you've got to trust the administration that it won't pull the rug out from under you like it did with Keystone. That is one of the big problems to getting America back online. Really quickly, though, I want to ask you about Germany. They seem to have had sort of a wake-up moment saying, you know what, we can't rely on Russia the way we have. Do you see the possibility for something good coming out of Europe on the energy front in the months and years ahead? Very quickly.
Yeah, Germany's response, I think, was tremendous. It's very encouraging to see them wake up to this. And so, yes, I'd like to see Germany work with the United States, work with Canada, and buy their energy from countries that are reliable. And the more we can isolate Putin, the more we can isolate countries like Iran that also produces oil and gas, the better it is for world peace. And so Germany gave a very good example, and the rest of the free nations should follow it.
Daniel Turner, always appreciate your insight on this subject. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Brian.